Thank you for coming. I'm Marg, one of the co-hosts for this series. And I have to say, I hardly know where to begin tonight. We are in such a somber time with this nationally significant murder of one of our citizens. And I've had a day, maybe you've probably had a similar day, I can't shake it off. And I don't want to. I don't want to shake it off. So whether you come here discouraged or numb or angry or brokenhearted or just simply open-hearted, welcome. Thank you for coming out and for and I have such gratitude for this place and this reading series where we honor poetry and its power to reach us and teach us. We are very fortunate to have beautiful readers with us tonight, and I'm looking forward to being transported to a different place from where my head was all day. So welcome to you all. If you're new to this series and to this physical place and need a restroom, take a right, take another right, you'll find it. We're going to send around a sign-up sheet in a moment. For any of you who are not on the mailing list and want to be, we'd like your email, and then we use that only to announce the next reading and who will be on our roster for that evening. So. We also record this evening. This will be recorded and posted on our website, minnesotareadingseries.wordpress.com. And I thank Paul Mattis, as always, for recording this evening on our behalf and getting all the tech sorted out and having it posted. We were to have 4 readers now. Let me just check. Can you hear me all right? Is the mic picking up okay in the back? Yes? Okay.
It'll be louder.
A little louder? All right.
We also might want to shut the door per the piano.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that.
Or at least more.
Yeah.
They sound lovely.
I know. It's a great thing, and it's also.
It is an audition.
And also, they will take a break later, and they'll come out and home, and then they'll be even more of the joyful children. We were to have 4 readers tonight, as you probably know. Stanley Kuzunoki had to pull away because of his brother-in-law's death, and the funeral was today in Duluth, so he could not join us tonight. And we hope to have him very soon at one of our upcoming readings. So we'll have 3 readers tonight, and we are delighted to have them. But I wanted to first read a poem from Stanley. When I asked him to send me something, he sent me some options, and this one is perfect for today, I think. This is from Stanley Kuzunoki. Jesus weeps over the city. Jesus wept as he looked over Washington, D.C. Oh, you have turned the place of hope into a place of spite. Even the holiest of buildings, the building of the people, damaged by the people it represents. Oh, Washington, named for a flawed visionary, you have focused on the flaws and not the vision. This place where prophets are scorned and liars are exalted, I fear, yes, for myself, and more, for all my children. That's from Stanley Kuzunoki. The other thing that happened today was that the 3 poets that we'll read tonight, and I had an online, or an email exchange that Jeremiah thought of, which was to read a poem from Renee Nicole.
Good.
I'm sorry, I'm a little distressed.
Understand.
From Renee Nicole Good, and Athena has agreed to read that for us before we begin our regular program tonight. I'm going to light a candle on her behalf and have that stand as a symbol of who she was and brought to the world. I'll do that, and then you can read it, you know. If it works. Maybe it doesn't.
Margaret and I went to the site where Renee Nicole Good was murdered today, and a man was standing there holding a sign that said, She is good.
Yeah.
So this is a poem that she wrote when she was an undergraduate at Old Dominion, and it won a prize. You can find it on the Academy of American Poets page if you want to find it. And I feel like this is a poem that's really pertinent for us today because it's a poem about losing your faith, which perhaps some of us are in that place. On learning to dissect fetal pigs. On learning to dissect fetal pigs. I want back my rocking chairs, solipsist sunsets, and coastal jungle sounds that are tercets from cicadas and pentameter from the hairy legs of cockroaches. I've donated Bibles to thrift stores, mashed them in plastic trash bags with an acidic Himalayan salt lamp. The post-baptism Bibles, the ones plucked from street corners from the handy, meaty hands of zealots, the dumbed-down, easy-to-read, parasitic kind. Remember more the slick rubber smell of high-gloss biology textbook pictures. They burned the hairs inside my nostrils, and salt and ink that rubbed off on my palms. Under clippings of the moon at 2:45 a.m., I study and repeat ribosome, endoplasmic, lactic acid, stamen at the IHOP on the corner of Powers and Stetson Hills. I repeated and scribbled until it picked its way and stagnated somewhere I can't point to anymore. Maybe my gut, maybe there in between my pancreas and large intestine is the piddly brook of my soul. It's the ruler by which I reduce all things now, hard-edged and splintering from knowledge that used to sit, a cloth against fevered forehead. Can I let them both be? This fickle faith and this college science that heckles from the back of the classroom? Now I can't believe that the Bible and Quran and Bhagavad Gita are sliding long hairs behind my ear like my mom used to, and exhaling from their mouths, make room for wonder. All my understanding dribbles down the chin onto the chest and is summarized as life is merely to ovum and sperm, and where those two meet, and how often, and how well, and what dies there.
Thank you, Athena. And now I will pass around that sign-up sheet if any of you wish to be on the email list and are not already. Well, actually, you're going next. Never mind. All right. Our first reader for tonight, Mona Susan Power, is the author of 4 books of fiction: The Grass Dancer, awarded the PEN Hemingway Prize; Roof Walker, Sacred Wilderness, and A Council of Dolls, winner of the Minnesota Book Award, longlisted for the National Book Award and the Carol Shields Prize. Fellowships in support of her work include a Radcliffe Bunting Institute Fellowship, Princeton Hodder Fellowship, USA Artists Fellowship, Native Arts and Cultures Foundation Fellowship, and McKnight Fellowship. Power is an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, Yanktonai, Dakota. Born and raised in Chicago, she currently lives in St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome to you, Mona.
Thank you so much, Marg. She has been working working to bring me here for some time, and it kept falling through, and I'm so glad it worked out, especially now. I live alone, and so really could use community more than ever right now. And I apologize in advance. I have a lot of theater training, so I love giving readings, but when I did a practice run earlier today, I just kept crying. And what I was reading, it's not that it was sad, it's just, but I figured people would understand. Anyway, I'm just really grateful to be here and honored to be sharing this podium with these amazing writers. So I'm going to read a short personal essay I wrote. A few years ago, Sun Young Shin invited me to write something, whatever I wanted to, for this Minnesota Artists site, and this is what popped out, and it just, I don't know, it seemed kind of appropriate. It is April 1973, and I'm 11 years old, a Ihanktawana Dakota who is already a writer, always has been a writer, even before I could read. I don't need paper to fill pages in my imagination. Story is everywhere. I imagine myself into other worlds, other families. I enter the TV screen and change what happens there when I don't like where the program is taking me. But on this first warm day of 1973, I find my father lying on the floor of our garage, and imagination fails me. Hours later, I will learn that he is dead, that fiction cannot make him alive in any satisfying way. I will sit with what is real heavy in my lap and cry behind plastic sunglasses. A beloved Ho-Chunk elder arrives to guide me and my mother through stunned grief. She speaks to us gently, hands us each a comb and a new toothbrush. We have to take care of ourselves and wash. When you first step into grief, it is like being born into a new world. You are a baby learning to walk on broken glass. The elder says my father will be with us in spirit for the next 4 days, so we mustn't show too much suffering, or he'll get stuck and not move on as his spirit should. We wear sunglasses to hide our tears. We watch as she places knives on the sill of each window, knives beside the entrance to each door. She explains that my father's death has created a hole in the fabric of our family that other spirits might try to enter. Dad will need weapons at every entrance to fend them off. I think of that hole as the soft spot on a baby's crown, a point of vulnerability that needs protection. I reach to the top of my own head and wonder if angry spirits will try to take me over now that my father has left us. A strange thought, since my father never really believed in the soul, though he tried to. A small panic strikes me when I wonder how my father will know what to do. He's a white man, after all, not indigenous like me, my mother, and this elder. He doesn't believe in the things my mother raised me to believe. He doesn't see what we see. But I don't voice this worry until years later in high school, when I write my way back to that terrible moment. The scrawl of poem ends, "Death has picked the lock with his hairpin bones, and only my father, the white ghost, can save us from those who want to enter our bodies and steal our souls." I'm just gonna grab a couple of bits of tissue paper because instead of my weeping, I'm just now sweating. It all comes out somehow. I am an intuitive writer, often oblivious to what I'm really saying until years later. It's only now that I appreciate the irony of my teenage words, how much I was honoring other ways of knowing, doubting that my brilliant, insightful father with his vast breadth of knowledge and Phi Beta Kappa Chi would have any idea of how to navigate the spirit world. Unlike my father and most of my school teachers, I believe in magic. I believe the universe speaks to me in ways that others will miss if they haven't learned to pay attention. The universe isn't always noisy and obvious, skywriting what it wants us to know in large cursive loops, like the Wicked Witch's message in The Wizard of Oz. Sometimes the voice is quiet and subtle, seeming to rise from our innermost depths. The universe offers me visions, short films that play in my head without dialogue. An older woman dances in a buckskin dress on the moon. A young woman descends from the sky as if riding an invisible escalator, a wampum belt slung across one shoulder. I am given these mysteries to solve, these characters who arrive like strangers and end up relatives. My first paragraphs of solution of story are a leap of faith. I trust the visions that have come from a place, I trust my visions have come from a place that is true, that will ultimately reveal what I need to know when I'm ready to listen. I work with my characters as if I'm their confessor, their therapist. I'm grateful when they begin to reveal their lives and secrets. Some of them take longer than others, I have to say. I cannot say I am their creator because they don't arrive in pieces, even if pieces are all I see in the beginning. They are whole. They are separate. They come from deep places I don't fully understand. They are my teachers. If you have been raised to honor other ways of knowing, the world will challenge you. The world doesn't honor what it hasn't learned to see or hear or trust. During my high school and college years, I began to shut down inside, telling my spirit to be quiet. What did it know? Was it even there? My spirit wasn't something I could photograph or slide beneath a microscope in the science lab. It wasn't until I was in my mid-20s and learning to write fiction that I broke open again, as if the sacred act of creativity must come from an honest place, an unmasked and fearless place, if it is to have anything worthwhile to say. In my first year of graduate school, I finished a story titled Moonwalk, just in time for it to be workshopped in class. I read the ending aloud to a dear friend and classmate, thrilled with the final image of a Dakota elder on the moon, her spirit dancing right through Neil Armstrong, the astronaut oblivious to her presence. They're gonna hate it, my friend warned. I knew she was right, but handed in the story anyway. In their comments, fellow students scolded me for the weirdness of my world. I made them nervous, dragging them onto unfamiliar cultural ground. I wrote these fantasies as if I believed in them, as if they were possible. Magical realism was all well and good as a literary strategy, but this was something else. My Dakota character who danced on the moon was an elder who decided to die early because she had other business to attend to before joining her ancestors. Once her mission was accomplished, she set off to join the council fire where loved ones were waiting, a place she told me was 5 steps beyond the edge of the universe. She showed me a glimpse of this place that I'll perhaps find at the end of my days. In my dreams, I've walked the spirit road that leads there. In desperate times, I felt it tugging at my feet, felt the lure of joining everyone I've lost. But I have my own business to attend to first. So I walk through the world in ordinary ways, on concrete sidewalks that jar my old knees. No one would guess to look at me that I'm listening to the trees, deciphering their papery words, their tree logic. No one would guess that one woman contains such worlds in her quiet body. So this other piece, it's much shorter, and boy, I hadn't planned to read this, and it's kind of bizarre. I've never done this before, you'll see. But I'll read the explanation. The second choice was an unexpected odd selection. I didn't know why it insisted until yesterday's horrific events, underscoring the present cruel times. The piece is my recalling of a dream I had in April of 2015. I mean, the kind of dream you have while you're sleeping. Something about it felt urgent, necessary to document. I transcribed everything I could remember and filed it away, only to stumble on it a few months ago. So yeah, that's like 10 years later. Light bulbs went off. I better understood the message. Wishing everyone what you need to be safe and well. for Renee, Nicole Good, and all who love her. Dream. And again, this is a dream. I transcribed as much as I could remember. I live in a place that is furnished, messy with too many things. I look around my bedroom floor at a child's rocker and table and chairs, other doodads, and decide I'll store it away. I don't want so much stuff underfoot. I notice silverfish, one of them so large its flesh looks like chainmail or metal plate. I peek at a student's draft of their final paper that's suddenly in my hand, and it isn't saying anything significant, nearly empty of meaning, empty of story, yet they're clever with design and graphics, even some animation, so it looks really impressive, masking that there isn't any substance to the piece. At some point, I feel overwhelmed by people and technology, the endless phone calls and emails coming in, so I grab a couple of small plastic bags, the kind you can get at the drugstore to hold purchases. They're full of garbage, which I'm going to take out to the dumpster. Once I'm on the street, there's so much chaos and noise and ambulance and honking cars. I get all turned around and I just start walking, still gripping the bags of garbage. I'm in Boston, it seems, then New York, then Paris. Location doesn't matter. It's like it's all the same story, just with different backdrops. I walk into an office building and stumble on my boss, someone I don't know in waking life. A frosted blonde, tall, slender, well-maintained, and very nicely dressed, but it's difficult to tell her age because she has the wrinkles of a heavy, long-time smoker. I try to talk to her to explain this feeling of pervasive doom that engulfs me. I insist this isn't a personal depression, this is something larger, but she doesn't want to listen. She makes a call and hands me the phone, clearly some therapist on the line. Both women are now talking to me at the same time, so I hand back the phone saying, "You always do this. Make me talk to strangers because you don't want to take the time to listen yourself." I walk out of the building with her calling after me. I'm still carrying those darn bags. Once I'm back on the streets, just walking haphazardly through restaurants and along beaches, I finally speak the words that are bottled up inside. It's the final days of the empire. It's the final days of the empire. In my head, I see the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, the Mayan ruins, earthquakes, droughts, fires, floods. I shake off the vision and grab a pen, still dreaming. I have epic dreams sometimes. I write the following as near as I can recall. I'm suspicious of the cool cucumbers, the ones who look unfazed by other people's blood and war, the tent cities and endless limbo in Washington, destructive as an undiscovered ring in Dante's hell. But don't let them close your own heart. Reach for your ancestors. Maybe you don't know anything about them because you were adopted, or your stories were cut off at the knee of time, given America's penchant for beginning your narrative with your first credit card number. Your ancestors know you. They've been talking to you since you floated in the amniotic sea. They're survivors, and they know a thing or two about life. Maybe they weren't rich. Maybe their names weren't recorded anywhere of significance, but they are survivors, or you wouldn't be here standing in their tracks. Reach for your ancestors. Your story begins long before birth. You are as old as the stars and long journeys of light. You contain worlds. Power nestles invisibly in your hand. You wield scepters. They come not from royalty, but duress. You are descended from spirit kings and star queens, from all those who should have worn crowns of flowers. Reach for the ones who know you better than you know yourself, the ones who can trace your cells with their memory of breath because your cells are theirs. Reach for them and know that no matter what, you are loved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mona. Beautiful. Our next reader is Jeremiah Gamble. Jeremiah makes an honest living making stuff up. He's a playwright, poet, singer, actor, storyteller, and producer who's been working professionally in the Twin Cities for over 27 years. He is usually busy running 2 theater companies with his wife, Vanessa, their touring company, Theater for the Thirsty, and their West 7th St. Paul-based company, Bucket Brigade. His original plays and musicals have been produced at theaters including Yellow Tree Theater, the Southern Theater, AD Players, and 4th Street Theater. He's a Lincoln City Fellow, a member of the Dramatists Guild, and his poetry has appeared in Hummingbird, magazine of the small poem, Art House Dallas on Mortality, and the Green Hills Literary Lantern. Welcome, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Marg. I'm going to be reading from my newest collection of poems, Just Now. I've begun a bit of a tradition of putting together my poems that I write over the course of the year and printing them and giving them to friends and family. So that's what this is. Counting blessings. I will not. I simply refuse to take this everyday sunrise, this run-of-the-mill scenery, this ho-hum meal with these all too familiar faces on this humdrum day for granted. Instead, I'll swell with gratitude with every single breath, me mindful every moment, devouring every morsel of daylight like Mary Oliver on a walk in spring. It certainly wouldn't do to complain about the terrible traffic, or my lower back, or the idiots in charge. No, I'll just count my many, many blessings like I always do, until the number gets so very high I'm reminded there's nothing I hate more than math. Active listening. This rug just doesn't tie the room together. It's a lot to ask of a rug, really. As if it could coax us from our corners, persuade us to lay down our arms, quit finishing each other's sentencing, and finally meet in the middle, directly under the gentle light. Just now. I didn't notice anything just now. No detail to speak of. Not that I wasn't looking. I'm just having a hard time seeing. Could be these fading eyes, or my too useful mind attached to 10 busy fingers. I rest them in my lap and look out my window, through the blinds soft with dust, and see the sky, I suppose, and a smudge of cloud, I guess, and the bare silver maple. Nothing really. Nothing worth mentioning. Nothing at all. Flying a kite. I'm sitting in this second-hand chair thinking that a poem is like a kite. It's the kite itself, yes, the color, the shape, but also the string, and a spool, if there's a spool, and even who's holding it. But mostly a poem is like a kite because it leaves me breathless, gaping at the sky. Chernobyl. a name synonymous with catastrophe. Who remembers it was ever a city? We certainly learned from Icarus not to curb our ascent, but how to improve the seal, so our wings could last just long enough to snare a piece of the sun and return it. Make of it a furnace to burn, 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 and now behold, a fleet of wings newly fashioned, preparing for final flight to finish the job we started, to at last subdue the sun and put it in its proper place. Deep space for my daughter Phoenicia. You will never, ever catch my daughter there in deep space. She would rather choose all the other rathers than suffer the cold loneliness, the vastness, the pervasive sense of lurking menace. No. Instead, you will find her, most assuredly, curled in the cocoon of herself, reading a hefty novel, one where an adventurer sits at a warm hearth, singing an old tune, one she learned from speaking with the trees. Go to hell. Just a short reformatory stint. No one deserves eternal torment. And while you're there, maybe bring someone back. One of those debauched but brilliant artists who seem to suffer enough in this life. Certainly not another genocidal tyrant. We've got enough up here already. And pay a visit to Old Scratch himself. And ask him why he really took up the fiddle and went down to Georgia. Couldn't have been for just another musician's soul. Those are a dime a dozen. Ask him how it felt. Feet up on a porch in Savannah, sipping sweet tea, watching the peach trees sway in the comparatively cool breeze. There's more. This is from one of my favorite Bible stories found in the New Testament in the book of Acts. St. Paul sermonized a man to death. Lulled him to sleep till he rolled out a third-story window and landed with a thud, waking with the question, "Is it over?" Then died. And just when he was shaking hands with the guy who preceded St. Peter at the pearly gates, he startled awake and found himself back in the dirt, in a world of pain. St. Paul standing over him with a fatherly look in his eyes, reaching out his hand, saying, "There's more." New me's. I read somewhere, probably the internet, that the human body replaces 1% of its cells daily. So after about 100 days, it will have replenished the equivalent of a new you. So here's to the 3.3 new me's. 3.13 new me's in this new year. And the new me's we leave behind. Tiny traces dusting the armrest at the theater, and tucked inside library books. I'm inclined to offer an apology for the proliferation of me's, though there certainly are plenty of you's to go around. But it feels less an arms race and more like fields of sweet clover going to seed, or tiny purple tops teased by the breeze, waving at each other under the same wide sky. Joy to the world, after the song by Three Dog Night. Yes, I was a bullfrog. No, I don't mind you asking. Though the question's been posed innumerable times. But, while we're on the subject, I'd like to say, reports of my unintelligibility are greatly exaggerated. Communication, after all, is a two-way street. I do believe the best things are made better yet by sharing, particularly a fine Sauvignon Blanc. And unlike my son-of-a-gun friend who overvalues straight talk, I've never had aspirations of being king of the world. But I suppose if I were, my first order of business would not be to throw away the cars, for it would deprive the dogs one of their greatest pleasures. To thrust their face out the car window, tongue wagging, tasting the whole world, greeting all the boys and girls, waving their pink flag of joy. At last, I have it on good authority that the last shall be first, though not any time soon, as far as I can see. The first keep reaching new heights as the rest of us struggle to even find our footing. While I'm inclined to help give someone else a boost, I generally don't, for it puts us both at risk to fall farther, farther, farther still. From my vantage, I confirm I'm most assuredly not first, and thank God not one of the last, whoever they are, the unseen ones, waiting at the very bottom for the world to turn upside down. Heidelberg. This little leaf linden tree stands tall, looking over Heidelberg Castle in what remains of the gardens once considered the eighth wonder of the world, and which were used as an artillery base for shelling the city below during the 30 Years' War that claimed nearly 8 million lives. The gardens now stand in ruins. Yet, there's oak and field elm, ginkgo, cedar of Lebanon, and of course the little leaf linden, under which I sit on one of the hottest days in this city's history, enjoying the shade of its generous canopy as I look upon a toppled stone rampart. A seed slowly descends, just brushing my shoulder before gently settling on the ground. How to survive the apocalypse. A little light green bug scuttled across the page of a poem I was reading. Obituaries by Billy Collins, a 3-pager. I gently transferred her onto my makeshift bookmark, a scrap of decorative paper I saved, so that from her perch she could see how the poem ends, with an image of Noah and his ark. After she climbed onto my thumb and I lifted her to the chair's arm, she scaled to the top and cleaned herself, waving her antenna like a tender olive branch. This morning, a coyote pup saw me. We happened upon the path at the same time. He regarded me and trotted off into the underbrush. My heart stopped. It didn't, of course. It started. Beautifully, it started. A little PSA. She's a clover mite, thank you very much. She and her sisters are not tiny red spiders, though they most certainly are tiny and red. And she would like you to know she loves sunning on windowsills and sipping the sap of daffodils, dandelions, and primrose. Perhaps you've noticed she's about the size of the tip of your favorite pen. And she loves most especially to scurry across the page of the book you're reading and occasionally pause to punctuate. Signs of life. This moment, if frozen in amber, given time, could be mined by a paleontologist, looking for signs of life. With small hands and delicate tools, she'd pry open the golden egg of the past to find inside a pocket of air, brushing past her ear, whispering the words, "I love you." Time traveler. I have a time machine. The only one ever invented. It's super intuitive. I think back and I'm there. 1980. Eating peanut butter Captain Crunch, then running out the door to play Star Wars in the trees. And with a beep, I'm back. Phone in hand, alerted to an email reminding me to pay my auto insurance, which sets my pulse to race until I'm hurtled ahead to a day beyond when my money is gone. And beyond that, when I'm gone too, having cast off this machine to become one with the bright expanse, and then the lilac tree in my yard pulls me back, so that now I'm simply overcome with the scent, even as I'm reminded, yesterday these blooms were buds, and soon enough they'll wither, but not just yet. Man in the moon. Hello. Hello out there. Hello again. And sorry. Sorry that we banished you ages ago. Sorry we sent you on the long bridge to languish in your lunar prison alone. Some say you're just a trick of the eyes, a mere collection of dark splotches made from shadows pooling in the depths of ancient lava flows, but I see you. Are you Cain, as the legends say, or the face of trickster Jacob, or the man punished for bundling sticks on the Sabbath? And do you know, despite the distance, you still move us? Move the tides that shape our very shores. And who is it you see in the face of blue and green, looking back at you like a mother missing her son? Wabi sabi. I broke a mug this morning, one of a million mugs crowding my kitchen cupboard. This one thrifted, Lucy, feet up, at her psychiatric help 5-cent stand. The doctor is in. I gathered the pieces and contemplated kintsukuroi, the Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer, and could almost picture the hot glue and craft glitter weaving a shimmering snake between the lobes of her feet and leaving a glittering gash across her face that looks, when the light hits right, almost like a smile. Legacy. The Mayans made canvases conceived of a sheet of bark from the wild fig, smoked and dried, then fashioned into a mat and coated with finely ground limestone, upon which they inscribed the cycles of the sun and moon according to their agrarian practices, and described their numbering structure, method for recording time, and information about their villages and families. and they carefully carved figurines out of wood to resemble humanity, hollowing the back of the head to hold a portion of the ashes of their ancestors. When the foreign priests arrived, they regarded the land, the people of the land, gathered the works of their hands, their canvases and figurines, and burned them. Two more. If only at any given moment there's a song in the world, and at any given moment I can hear it. But only when I'm distracted by curiosity. Only when a quirk collides with my funny bone. Only when my dog's eyes meet mine and I'm startled by affection. Never when I'm busy. Never when I'm reviewing wrongs. Only when I run hard along a river. Only when I feed a blazing fire under a canopy of stars. Only when I'm with the grieving. Never when I'm riding the storm inside myself. Never when I'm tending bitter roots. Only when I'm lost in a story. Only when I watch my loves becoming. And always, always now. Spots. I've got a brown spot near my temple, about the size of a nickel. Looks a bit like a bruise on an apple, which isn't to say the fruit is no good, it's just been knocked around a bit. So it's got some soft spots here and there, and there, and there, and there. Here. It's a good apple.
Feeling the rejuvenative power of poetry and of literature and beautiful words tonight. I'm going to send around a basket. As many of you know, this is a space provided to Midstream Meeting Series for free by Unity Church. And so if you are inclined and have actual cash, which of course many people don't, feel free to put a little something in the basket and we will thank them in that way for their offering this space. All right. Our last reader this evening, Athena Kildegaard. Athena's sixth book of poems is Prairie Midden by Timberbox Editions. Won the 2023 Willa Literary Award for Poetry. Her poems have been set to music by many composers, including Linda Kappelmeyer, Jennifer Higdon, Shruti Rajasekar, thank you, and others. And they've been published widely in such journals as Ecotone, Conduit, North American Review, Prairie Schooner, Rattle, and the Southern Humanities Review. Athena teaches at the University of Minnesota Morris. Welcome, Athena.
I'm so happy to be here. I live way out in western Minnesota, so I put together what I was going to read Tuesday night, and then so I'm going to start with a Jane Hirschfield poem. Do you guys know Jane Hirschfield?
Yeah.
Sure. It feels a little weird to read a poem by her because she has such a distinctive reading voice. I won't sound at all like her. This is called Let Them Not Say. Let them not say we did not see it. We saw. Let them not say we did not hear it. We heard. Let them not say they did not taste it. We ate. We trembled. Let them not say, it was not spoken, not written. We spoke, we witnessed with voices and hands. Let them not say, they did nothing. We did not enough. Let them say, as they must say something, a kerosene beauty, it burned. Let them say, we warmed ourselves by it, read by its light, praised, and it burned. I guess I'm gonna move from that to some other stuff, completely different. So I had the great good fortune in August to travel with Sarah sitting back there, Dovra Woodali, and a couple other poets, Sue Love and Michael Cleaver Diggs, on the poetry bus around Southwest Minnesota. And part of that gig was that Sarah and Sue put together this beautiful little chapbook of poems. And I'm gonna read one of mine in this. It's a poem called Beauty. My mother kept a saucepan with no handle and a tarnished spoon for her wax. Wax the color of pond muck, more brown than yellow, but green, the color of having once been organic. The pan she'd set on a low flame, and when the wax had melted, she'd lift the spoon, the convex part up-facing, covered with wax, which would begin to congeal, and this thin smear she'd wipe onto her upper lip, one swipe above the left side and one above the right. Then she'd light a cigarette. A filtered Raleigh purchased by the carton, the S&H green stamps set aside for a matching platter to the table settings for 8 she'd already amassed. She'd deal us each 6 cards and we'd play cribbage. She would claim my missed points, didn't care that I was 8. She liked to win. Her eyes squinted when smoke flared upward. When she'd beaten me, she'd tear the hardened wax away in 2 swift yanks. 2 curled petals, smooth on one side and hairy on the other. 2 little animals. That's just a true story. Thanks for laughing. I'm going to read, I've been writing other poems about my childhood, so I'm going to read a few others of this sort. So this one is called, this one's really different. This one's called Sound Effects. From how my I need to go backwards and tell you one thing. So I grew up in St. Peter, Minnesota, to parents who grew up, my dad grew up in the panhandle of Texas, and he taught at Gustavus, and students would imitate him speaking in his southern accent, which I never heard, because I just heard the way he talked. Oops. So anyway, this is kind of in the background of this poem. Sound effects. From how my father talked on the phone, I knew it was one of his brothers on the other end. Wind can down garbage bins or street signs, even electric lines. How loud it gets. Debris from an exploded rocket drops out of the sky, litters backyards and parking lots, spent fury. In our little rooms above the kitchen, once maids, my sister and I hid when the fighting started. NPR bleeped every N-word the black writer said, and he chided them for it. Who says what to whom? From anywhere in that enormous old house, I heard his wide open shouted syllables, the southern drawl, how he ribbed his brothers and cussed. Was it love or fear, I wondered, or something stranger? So here's a poem called Silent Butler. I'm not gonna, do you guys know what a silent butler is? Jeremiah's gonna, nope. Okay, so it's kind of explained in the poem, but I'm just gonna tell you so it's clear in our minds. So a silent butler is this delightful device that has a handle, and it's like a rectangular thing with a lid, and you hold the handle, and then there's a lever that you can prop the lid open, and then you pick up an ashtray and dump the stuff in the ashtray inside the silent butler, and then you can carry it away. So this is called Silent Butler. Some Saturday mornings after a big party, my chore was to take the silent butler, a silver-hinged rectangular container with a thumb-levered lid and a mahogany handle, something from an era and class to which my parents did not belong, from room to room, tipping the full ashtrays into the open contraption, so many butts and spent matches I'd have to make several trips to the garbage under the kitchen sink, butts and slender matches shuffling against one another to settle around an empty sour cream container and shrimp shells, beer bottles, empty fifths of gin and scotch, all the detritus of the previous night's debauch. This was before I hit puberty and had opinions. When lipstick on camel filters seemed glamorous, and I recognized my mother's magenta and Mrs. Brown's coral, and if I held those butts to my nose, I could smell the wax, and then I laid a spent end of matches on my tongue to get that firework of sulfur. But when I was finished with the chore and had returned the silent butler to the pantry, set it on the shelf beside Yahtzee and Risk and the paper bag of odd playing cards we used for war or canasta, the glamour had worn off. The adrenaline of the night before was gone. The smell of ash now bitter and tainted on my fingers, and I felt that something had occurred to be regretted, something that clung to the morning, though at the time I could not imagine what. That's a dark one. This poem is called Mothers. So many mothers were not my mother, and I did not want them to be my mother. Mary's mom dropped slices of bread into egg and milk and then squeezed each slice slimy and wet between her hands before she put them in the hot skillet. I'm just reporting here. Lori's mom kept the television on all the time, whether anyone was watching or not. Michelle's mom was never home, and Tanya's cleaned all the time, damp cloths on every surface. Once my mother broke every bowl, salad plate, and dinner plate. She carried them out onto the back porch and threw them down onto the sidewalk so that they shattered into triangles and slivers of yellow and white. I was not afraid of her unleashed rage. I was afraid of how the other mothers had none. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna read a really weird one, okay? You guys love rabbits? I used to love rabbits. And then they ate my beets. So this poem is called Rabbits in the Tall Grass. Rabbits on the dewy moss, rabbits crossing scurf and stone, rabbits at dusk and dawn under the deck, Rabbits stretching from hind feet to the top bite. Rabbits spines stretched and whiskers flat to the safe dark. Rabbits by twos and threes are solitary as herons. Rabbits tickled pink by the day. Rabbits on shuffle and repeat. Rabbits light-footed and cloud-winged. Rabbits earthbound. Rabbits stubborn as flesh. Rabbits undiminished by lack of prayer or ambition. Rabbits shy as ferns. Rabbits denned and donned. Rabbits bold as semaphores. Rabbits throwing caution to the wind. Rabbits who may and rabbits who may not. Rabbits like glossy pettifores. Rabbits done and moldering. Rabbits birthed beneath a waxing moon. Rabbits waning in the clover. Rabbits turned to marble, turned to mud. Rabbits sleek as sled runners. Rabbits picked by common lot. Rabbits thick as thieves. Rabbits down and rabbits up. And rabbits lateral as slat. Rabbits rich with company. Rabbits too many to count. Rabbits redoubled. Rabbits lost on bets, rabbits skinned for Saturday stew, rabbits tossed in baskets, rabbits down on luck and up was shot, rabbits shorn of dignity, rabbits clasped at the neck, rabbits lining velvet, rabbits purloined, rabbits rutting, rabbits unassuming, rabbits caught in a relentless wheel, rabbits barrowed and burrowed, rabbits caught in a wink or a shudder, rabbits inked and graffitoed, rabbits shunted along, rabbits ahoyed and ballyhooed, rabbits dadaed and dittoed, rabbits run amok, rabbits as stand-ins for all or none, rabbits inadvertently transmogrified, rabbits in transit, rabbits transubstantiated, rabbits crosswise and pennywise, rabbits leaving turds below the white hydrangea, rabbits with no cause, rabbits BB'd or garroted, rabbits stuffed with plums, rabbits beyond whatever is and whatever isn't, rabbits shivering in a splinty rhythm, rabbits taxidermied, rabbits mounted and mounting, rabbits bloated and maggoty, rabbits demystified, rabbits demure, rabbits double-dutched and triple-dunked, rabbits all the way down. Here's a love poem. Postcard to myself at 20. Remember how you cut up 100, give or take, tiny red, pink, white hearts, sharp scissors, nothing better to do, or anyway, the willingness to postpone other things for love? And you put them in a folded paper on which you wrote, I hope you did, a love poem, though I do not remember it, blushing now, since I should remember it. Anyway, the idea was he would take the folded paper out of the envelope, unfold it, and be confettied with tiny hearts, which did not happen in the joyful way you intended this. I do remember it was February, and static built up, and all those damn hearts stuck to one another, and the paper on which might or might not have been a love poem, and what I want you to know is that he and I are together, still electric and sticky. So that's a segue for a few love poems from an older book, Cloves and Honey, which Margaret Hassey helped me bring this book into life. I was thinking Tuesday when I would read that what we needed in the world was more love. And I was also thinking about, maybe some of you remember the New Yorker that came out after 9/11 with the black cover. And they had little pieces of writing by lots of people, and Toni Morrison wrote a really beautiful piece about the answer to what had happened was love, and people thought that was, she got a lot of dissing for that, but I think she was right. So I'm going to read a few love poems. These poems, by the way, have no titles. They're just, it would be really blind to say love poem page after page. You turn the iron handle while I spoon in clods of liver and lumps of fat. We take turns cranking and spooning 5 times, each time the flesh growing more smooth and purple and beautiful. How often we have shared the brave body, lovemaking, childbirth, the messy offices of raising children. We put the liver pastai into the oven, wash the iron machine, scrubbed circles of blood from the floor. Then a possum crosses the snowy yard. We pause in our bloody work to watch him slip under the overturned rowboat. I think his mate, pregnant and waiting, listens in case something stirs inside. A scientist on the radio said, "You can enter a black hole, but you can never get out." It's the dark fairy tale of the universe. All day I carried the brief story around with me, turning it from some metaphor about love, wishing to say to you, may your love be a black hole. That would be enough, except for how scary it is. That falling. I better look at the time. I guess I'm just gonna read one more because that's good. This is for today. We are born to sorrow. Even a leaf falling, red or gold, can bring us to tears. Indeed, even a leaf. It falls where we stood, and where we stand, something else falls or will before long. So hold on while there's no wind, and hold on after, for even sorrow can be born when there's love. Thank you.
Did any of you rereaders bring books for us to look at afterwards? Yes, you have some, Athena? Okay. And Jeremiah, okay. We usually do that up here, and I forgot to suggest that you set them up on the piano, but I will now invite everyone here to hang around, talk with our beautiful readers, talk with each other. And if you'd like to keep talking over a pint or a glass of wine or something, Sweeney's is our go-to place a few blocks away, and we welcome you all to join us there. There's a back room that's a little quieter than the bar part, and that's what we do. Next month's reading is on February 12th. We're always the second Thursday of the month. February 12th, Ron Palmer, Rosalie Ulton, and Caitlin Hibbard. And a fourth person to be announced. So we hope you join us. We'll see you then. Let us thank again these three beautiful poets for an evening that I very much needed and I think our souls deserve. So thank you.